Hi, in this video, I'll be talking about anti-gravity. Last month, Google released the new version of anti-gravity, and then it came in three parts: anti-gravity 2.0, anti-gravity IDE, and anti-gravity CLI. But the focus of this video would be to show you the differences between anti-gravity 2.0 and anti-gravity IDE. What are the differences? How can you combine this as part of your workflow? Let's get into it. So the shift is from writing code to now managing AI like a construction crew. Yeah. So now Antigravity 2.0, it's a much more managed command center. It's now like a enclosed tool, you know, chat first interface, where you're able to type in your prompt or record a voice note of your prompt. And there's no like classic IDE panels where you would start doing things like um, typing in code directly or making changes directly in the project. You're no longer able to do things like this. And here your role is now more of giving the agent instructions and then reviewing the outputs. And you're also able to spin up multiple agents that work in parallel. And the good thing with this is that it's just best for prototyping. You're able to prototype your ideas quickly and also do things on the background. So, in a short summary, Antigravity 2.0, it has prompts. So you're able to share your prompts. The agents build them. You get your artifacts. Your human approves, and it's a lot of high speed. And you're able to verify your decisions. So let's go into Antigravity 2.0 to show you some of these things. So first of all, when you open it, you have your conversations. You can start a new conversation, which is what I have here, or you can look at conversation history, or you can schedule tasks. Basically, you're able to give the task a name, choose the project where you want the scheduled tasks to be happening on, set a schedule for it, and then feed it the prompt. And this way, you're able to schedule a task. And here you have your projects and their different folders. And if we go to settings, we can manage our accounts, define permissions here, and of course set the appearance. I don't even have time to touch on here. And then models. This is also a crucial part that you need to be aware of. We have a refresh button now, and basically this refresh button refreshes the model quota. This way you're able to see what you have left and how much credit you have left. So interestingly, we have Gemini models and then we have other models. Gemini models would last longer. Personally, I'm on a Google AI Pro plan. So this definitely means Gemini models would work for an even extended period of time. And then we have the cloud models. So one thing to note is that the Gemini models last much longer and the cloud models run out quicker. And then we have the customizations part, the browser settings, and then the app settings. Most importantly, you can force it to stay on the menu bar, or you prevent the computer from sleeping when the app is working. And that is basically the core parts of the settings of the anti-gravity. The team tried to keep it really simple. And one more thing is here you're able to define if you're working on a local environment or if you're working on a Git repository. And then you're also able to add context. With media, you're able to upload files directly from your computer. With mentions, you're able to add things directly. It could be rules, it could be conversations. And with actions, you're able to define actions like goals, schedule, browser, invoking a browser agent for some web tags. Grill me, so you could grill to interview you, to align on a plan. Or it could be teamwork preview, invoking a team of agents to autonomously tackle a large project. And then the last one is learn, that allows you to learn about, it could be skills, it could be rules, it could be whatever. And lastly, one more thing you can do here is directly call the browser for something specific. All right. So we have one at the top right here. We have Open IDE. This would allow you to open IDE. We'll look further into this later in the video. So back to our conversation. So here we can, of course, see these are things that I've been running in the past, but of course I could run it again. The interesting thing I want to do here is I want to show you how to trigger multiple agents to work in parallel. I would also invoke a team of agents, and I'll say review the documents in this project. So here we have two sub-agents running in parallel. In fact, three sub-agents running in parallel: the timer, web audio researcher, code gaps auditor. So these three agents are working in parallel, handling different tasks, and are able to do things and then in background and then give me the result. For example, I could just move to a new conversation while this one keeps running in the background. I have seen how Antigravity 2.0 looks like and how you're able to put in a prompt, put in a task, and then allow it to run in the background. So you also see the enclosed interface where everything is happening within this enclosed space. You're able to come up with prototypes, you're able to give it a task, let it build, and then I'm able to approve. Okay, so the next part of this is Antigravity IDE. So here is more for people that have coding experience. So this is now the native IDE experience. Here you're the hands-on maker. You have things like autocomplete and copilot. You have the file tree to be able to navigate the files and folders of your project. You have the terminal where you're able to put in terminal commands and debug code line by line. Yeah, the good part of Antigravity IDE is that it's more stable. It offers you a bit more stability and it's more precise, and you're able to do complex debugging. So in summary, you're able to edit code, run the terminal, debug, and you're able to repeat this entire process. So let me show you what Antigravity IDE looks like. So for this same project, I click Open IDE, and then it gives me a pop-up. Do I really want to do this? And then I do that, and then it opens the same project, but this time in the IDE. So here we have the different files and folders of everything that was generated, and I'm able to navigate through the files and folders and then make changes the way I want. On the right hand side, we have a agent, the Gemini agent. You're able to also create prompts and tags and then watch it as it makes changes on the code base. So this is also very close to the experience that we used to have with the previous Antigravity. And then interestingly, we also have extensions. So with extensions, just like how we have in IDEs like VS Code and other IDEs, you're also able to install these things and use that to even extend the experience of your IDE. If you remember in the last video where I shared about how to install codecs in Antigravity, so the same thing still applies here. We already have it installed, and we can just switch the agent to Antigravity. So so here I already have it installed, and I can just open codecs on the sidebar, and this way I'm able to do everything I used to do on codecs. I can do it embedded within Antigravity IDE. So I think this is one of the best parts of it, because I'm now able to enjoy best of both worlds. Antigravity within the IDE, and I'm also able to play with codecs and of course explore the other models that it has to offer. And most importantly, if we look through the settings, we have the Antigravity IDE settings. So here we could define, okay, if the agents would have full access, or if they will be sandboxed, or if it will be strict security mode. And you also have access to permissions. You're able to manage roles and permissions. In under accounts, of course you can see that I have the Google Pro subscription, and in notifications, here I can define the kind of notifications I want to see. For the models, this is also very similar to the one we have in Antigravity 2.0. Yeah, I'm able to refresh and I'll see how much I have left. And then for the browser settings is also again similar to what we have in Antigravity 2.0. We could manage the tabs, we could also manage the editor, and then of course the different workspaces that we've opened up. Okay, so again, this is Antigravity IDE, and then we can see how much more flexible it is, because I could literally come in here and make changes to the code base how I want. I could set up another agent on the side here, like we have codecs, we have control, and we have automation. But the best part of it is that you could combine these two things to get the best possible experience as part of your workflows. So you could use the IDE when you want precise debugging, when you have known workflows, or you want to maximize control. And you could use Antigravity 2.0 when you just want fast prototypes, you want parallel agents to be working in the background, and want to create artifacts as fast as possible. So, of course, you could then combine the both of them, for heavy automation, for IDE, combining coding and fixes. So for the Antigravity IDE, you have the IDE full coding experience. It has extensions, you could include codecs, and then this would even allow you to extend the experience that you have on Antigravity IDE. It has more flexibility and it's mostly for people with coding experience. And for Antigravity 2.0, you have an enclosed space where you're able to create things, give prompts, and get results, and have things run in the background. But interestingly, I've also noticed that it doesn't have annotations, just like we have on Codex. If you watch my other video on how to make website design changes using AI agents, you would see how Codex has this inbuilt annotation feature that is missing in Antigravity. And also, when I've also worked with Antigravity, I've also noticed that the Flash, Gemini Flash 3.5 is a bit dumber than Cloud 4.6. So this is just something you need to take note of. But beyond these shortcomings, I found it fun to use. I found it simple and straightforward. Especially if you're non-technical, you're able to just dive in and start doing things with it. Okay, thank you for watching. If you like this kind of charts that I made, you can also watch my other video on how to draw Excalibur charts using Codex without any manual interference. Thank you for watching, and bye.